Hey guys, it's Michelle here. I am here with Isabel today.
Hi.
And she's one of the members of the group. You probably recognize her from the Facebook page. And we're gonna do a cooking demonstration today. We're gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 recipes in the next hour. And they're all gonna be ketosis and low carb recipes. So this is going just kind of the implementation follow-up for what you guys have been learning from Calvin on the different types of diets and macronutrient ratios. So this, just a reminder, the ketosis and low carb means that the fats are gonna be much, much higher than they would in a traditional kind of more equally balanced diet plan. So you're gonna see some of the meals, you know, like even the breakfast, for example, might only have fats in it, depending on if you're gonna train right away or not. So we'll talk about that as we're going through. Isabel is going to give us a fun fact about herself.
Sure. Okay. So I guess since I've started this nutrition program, I have PR'd pretty much all my lifts.
That's awesome.
Bench press, overhead squat, front squat, back squat, deadlift.
And what do you attribute that to?
I think the nutrition is really helping out a lot.
So just fueling yourself better recovery.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm not so tired.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
You know, able to go a lot harder than I usually do.
Cool.
Like what I did before this.
What time of day do you usually train?
I usually train at night.
At night?
Yeah.
Cool. So
7 p.m.
I'm a morning trainer, so we're gonna, when we make the breakfast shake here in a minute, you kind of have that option. For me, I would put a little protein in it because I train in the morning, but we might talk about, as we're going through the meals today, how to fuel someone for training at night, and when maybe to time that lunch or that snack to hit it hard in the gym and still feel good if you were on this ketosis type of plan. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go through what would be a typical day. You probably can't read it, but I'm gonna send you all the recipes. Don't worry about that. I'll give you the macronutrient breakdown, the percentages at the end, so you can see how this falls into the ketosis plan. But we'll talk about it as we go through. So don't feel like you have to write notes down and stuff. We'll just be chatting. I'll send you all the notes afterwards. Cool? All right, so this is basically what my day would look like in ketosis. And like I said, I train in the morning. So I usually would make some sort of just like an easy to drink shake. And I'm still a fan of like the real food philosophy here. So what I actually have been getting into lately, and I stopped drinking coffee for 7 years, but recently I had a house guest and we made a pot of coffee, and then she left and only had one little bit of it. And so I put the rest of it in the fridge, and then that lasted me the whole week. So I would make these iced coffee drinks for the week. And then I found that boost, that little bit of caffeine, because I only personally use like about a cup of coffee, that little bit of caffeine with the fats from the coconut milk that we'll put in, and then maybe some BCAA powder or some sort of collagen protein. That was a great fuel for the workout. So I would drink this maybe a half an hour to an hour before I work out. And I'm gonna make one for Isabel today. Since she, you know, this is we're kind of mid-morning now. We're just gonna make like a fun coffee drink for her. We're gonna probably leave the protein powder out for now because she's already had her breakfast. So this is almost like a little snack for her right now, but this would be my breakfast. So what we're gonna do is, I ran to a local coffee shop called Dark Horse. Have you heard of Dark Horse? Oh, it's so amazing. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but when I drink coffee, I drink only the good stuff. So Dark Horse is a local San Diego bean roaster and coffee shop, and they have a couple shops around now. This is their cold brew. It was on nitro, which means, like for you beer lovers out there, the CO2 tank is hooked up to their coffee, and then they pour it like a Guinness. So they pour half of it, and it like foams up like a Guinness, and then they pour the other half. So it's not alcoholic, but it is that same like smooth creaminess to it just because of the nitro in it. So like this coffee shop is known for making their coffee super, super strong. So I'm only going to use a little bit because it's like, oh, like that's how much I used in mine earlier. So I'm just going to put maybe like a cup of coffee in there. And then this is going to be our first big fat boost of the day. This is the coconut milk that I like to use. I get this at the Asian market. You can also order it on Amazon. And the reason why I love it is because it is 100% coconut milk. There's no preservatives. I haven't found any others without guar gum or something else in it. And this is from Thailand. It's just from from coconuts, and that's it. So I use half a box in my breakfast drink. So that's about 22 grams of fat. So we have, and then about half a box is going to be 1 gram of carbohydrates, and I'm just getting that off the label here. So that the full, it kind of gives you, the serving breakdown, and I did my label reading technique and divided it all. So I know that I'm also going to get 1 gram of carbs in here, and I do count any carbs that come along with the fats and proteins I'm eating, as long as it's 1 gram or more. So sometimes we'll break it down. It's like, oh, it's like a half a gram. Like, all right, forget it. Like, I'm not going to count that in depth. But yeah, I'll count anything 1 gram or more. So that would go on the list. So we're at 22 grams of fat, 1 gram of carbs. And then you could decide if you wanted to put in some protein powder of some sort. This is the Bulletproof collagen protein. I know we've also recommended the Great Lakes collagen protein. It comes in like a little mini canister that's green, and you can get that one on Amazon. So I put a scoop or 2 scoops of that in there. 2 scoops would be about 25, 26 grams of protein, and that's if I was going to work out right then. And then I would decide, hey, do I want to add a flavor to it? Do you like flavored coffee?
I do.
Cool. So yes is the answer there. We have some choices. You could go cinnamon. We could do like a cocoa vanilla combination. And I'll just say, like, anytime you put cocoa powder in something, you should probably put vanilla in there or some sort of sweetener, and we could use stevia today if we want to sweeten it at all, because the cocoa powder itself is very bitter. It's not going to taste awesome alone, but if you mix it with one of those 2 things or both of those things, it's really good. And then the third choice I have is like an amaretto flavor.
I like vanilla.
Vanilla? Cool. Just vanilla?
Yeah.
All right. So just going to do like a half a capful of the vanilla in there, just to give it a little essence, but you don't want it to taste like alcohol. And then,
Definitely not morning.
dang it, I thought it was all ready. We spent like 30 minutes setting up the whole kitchen, and then I left the lid in there. All right, so I'm just going to use my shaker bottle for this, especially if you're going to mix in the protein powder, because it really helps to mix it in a lot better. And then just a few shakes. Ice. And then we have breakfast. You could take it to go if you wanted in your little mug. Cheers.
Thank you.
Taste it and let them know.
All right. I'm drinking it. That's pretty good.
Pretty tasty, huh?
Yeah.
And if it's too strong, sometimes I'll splash a little water on top, because like I mentioned, that one is kind of crazy strong. So cool.
It's creamy.
Creamy, yeah. I really love that coconut milk. It's got a really great flavor. It doesn't separate and say it stays. It'll stay like that. It won't, emulsify or have that weird little stuff at the top. So, all right, cool. So that's breakfast. So that, like I mentioned, that's 22 grams of fat, 26 grams of protein if you put in that protein, 2 scoops of the collagen protein, and 1 gram of carbs. Okay, so a little heavy on the protein for that ratio. As far as our, like, in ketosis, we're trying to stay like 85% of the calories from fat. And so I'm giving you the numbers in grams. So we would have to do a little math here at the end to actually figure out the calories and the percentage. And I'll send that to you guys so you get the breakdown. All right, so we're going to move on to lunch. So we're going to come over to our cooking station here.
You think this would turn out well with like decaf or nothing?
Yeah. So
like if I wanted to do it before my nighttime workout.
Yeah, totally. So she just asked, would this work well with decaf coffee or non-nitro coffee? Yeah, you could do, usually when I do it, I just brew a pot of coffee and put it in the fridge. You could make decaf coffee. I've even done tea, like I'll make a chai tea, make it hot, and then put that in the fridge. So you have like iced chai lattes. So you can kind of come up with any flavor combination you want. If you're not a coffee drinker, hey, this is good actually. So let's say, hey, I don't drink coffee or tea or caffeine, but you want something in the morning to fuel yourself before a workout. Instead of the coffee, or you could use water and like some sort of greens powder, like the supplement, like dried greens. I think we've talked about a couple different brands that we recommend. And if not, I'll send you a list. And you could put in protein or not. So you could always have some quick little easy, real food meal before you work out. All right, so next we're gonna make lunch, and we're gonna use the grill for lunch today. And then we're also going to make a little vegetable dish to go along with it. So last weekend I was in Portland, and they're known for their food carts, amongst other things. They don't call them food trucks. They actually have like whole parking lots designated to food vendors, and this is where a lot of the chefs get their start. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really good food around. And so I spent one of the lunch times I was there just hopping around to the different carts and trying things. So today I'm gonna make my just super easy and some of my favorite coconut curry pork skewers. And then we're gonna make a recipe that, this will be the first attempt. I was telling Isabel, we're gonna knock off a food cart recipe. It's a Lebanese cabbage and crispy cauliflower. I didn't get the recipe from the food cart guy, but I took a couple pictures and made some mental notes, and I'm pretty sure we can make it happen today. So for this recipe, we're going to use the grill. We're going to use the food processor to make the dressing for the cabbage and crispy cauliflower. And then to make the cauliflower crispy, and I got this really awesome purple cauliflower at the store, we're going to fry it in coconut oil in the wok. So you'll be able to see one of my favorite cooking dishes, which is the wok. And I think I mentioned that before, I made an omelet or something with it. It's very versatile. Are you ready? All right, so because we're just doing this in one take, if we mess up, there's some really cool outtakes on here for you guys. But also, I've already prepped some of this stuff. The things that I prepped, I'm gonna have Isabel also prep again, but that's just so I can make it later on and you guys can see how to do it. So if things magically appear, that's why. So we'll talk about how to work this into your meal prep plan, whether you're cooking each day or you're kind of doing the weekly meal prep, or you're kind of doing the, what did we call it for you? Totally blanking, where you kind of shop and shop days, where you're like almost prepping, but not actually cooking it and just getting stuff ready to prep. So we'll talk about different opportunities for that. So that's why I already have this pork marinating in our dressing there, right, in our sauce, right? So this was the coconut milk and the box that I just showed you, and curry powder, just like plain yellow curry powder. And what I'm gonna have Isabel do is go ahead and start putting it on skewers. So I already pulled a couple skewers out here, and I did not soak them. I have found that it really doesn't make a difference. They catch on fire no matter what. So yeah, the skewers, we're gonna put them on the grill. So I've soaked them for hours, days, and then the ends burn off. So what I like to do is basically just cover the whole skewer with meat or vegetables or whatever it is you're cooking, and then there's no part that's exposed to burn. And then if it burns off, it just burns off. You're not going to have like a little fancy handle. So if you're looking to make them pretty and serve them on the skewer, you might consider getting some metal skewers that you can wash and reuse versus the wooden ones. Just my little pro tip for you. Okay, so have you ever had chicken shawarma?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how it's like all packed on the stick, all really close together?
Yeah. That's
what we're going to do with the pork. So I cut it in pretty thin slices, and I'll show you guys how I cut this in a minute here when she starts skewering. But you're just gonna kind of fold it as you put it on there, just so you get like all the little loose ends there, and you're gonna pull it all the way down to the end. Oops, probably fold that one over once more. And then you're just gonna kind of do the next piece and keep folding it on there. That might fill too, we'll see. So go ahead and get started on that. What's your favorite kind of food?
Mine, I really like steak.
Steak? Yay, we're making steak. We're making a strip steak in a minute. Yeah.
I like carne asada, but strip steak's good too.
Do you make your own carne asada?
Yeah, I do. I use the have you ever heard of the Flavor God seasoning?
No, the Flavor Guide?
Flavor God.
Flavor God.
So it's like a website, flavorgod.com.
So you go and like, you can order it online?
Yeah, it's just like pre-mixed seasonings, and they're all really good.
Cool. So there's a good tip from Isabel. The Flavor God, it's an online place to order all different kinds of seasoning blends, spice blends, and that's where she gets her carne asada mix. And then do you grill it or do you cook it in a pan?
In pan usually.
Yeah, cool. All right, so what Isabel is loading up there is actually pork shoulder, or it's a pork leg roast. And my friend, one of our coaches, Melissa, her sister owns a hog farm, and it's all free range, you know, humanely raised pork. And so she gets this whole like freezer full of stuff every year from her sister. So she gave me a couple cuts. We're using this would traditionally be a roast. You would put this in the oven or the crock pot. That's probably good. I could actually probably get you a plate.
I can switch it down more.
Too much. Oh yeah, actually see if you can get all that on the one. And then we can spread it apart if we need to. So that's what I'm using instead of roasting it in the oven or the crock pot. This is kind of just a little bit different way to do it. And what I did was just sliced it. I just started slicing like thin slices off. So she gave it to me frozen, and I waited until it was almost thawed, but still like icy in the middle, if that makes sense, because it's easier to cut that way and to get those really thin slices. So another tip for you, like, you know, when you like go to the Asian restaurants and they like all the meat sliced on a diagonal in these perfectly thin slices, it was likely semi-frozen when they cut it. So I was just taking slices like this just to kind of make nice thin pieces, about like that. So I just kind of work my way out. So I'm going to throw that into the marinade. You can leave those pieces and I'll deal with them later. But just pull out the ones that are already marinated. So Isabel gets to leave with some meals today. Basically what we're prepping, or what we're cooking right now, and then we're prepping my meals while we're cooking hers, if that makes sense, because I already did the prep for hers. So awesome. Killing two birds with one stone. Awesome. You can put it right there on that plate. Let's cut a few more of these.
Should I just, I mean, there's only like a couple pieces of it.
You can just leave them in there. I'll use them up later. Yeah. All right, so she's going to wash her hands because they're full of coconut curry. Oh, yeah, sorry. It's like a weird situation that I did.
I got it.
Twist it like that. All right, so for this, we're actually going to go outside and use the grill. Cool. Give me 1 second there. Always be washing, especially after you touched raw meat. All right, so we both just washed our hands. That's why we went off camera there for a minute. Okay, so show them the skewer. She skewered all that. This is gonna end up being 2 servings in like a ketosis plan. So we're gonna grill it all together, but then she can leave here with 2 servings. So maybe she has one for dinner tonight and tomorrow's lunch or something like that. So we're gonna go out the door. It's behind me. We're coming over to the grill. I actually hadn't started it yet because I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about grilling and using the grill. So really bright out here. Okay, so you can actually set that down right behind the camera, and we'll talk about the grill. Do you grill quite a bit?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a grill.
No grill?
Yeah. I live in a condo. Can't have it.
No, you're not allowed? That's so sad. Is there like a community grill you can use?
Yeah.
But it's like kind of far away or something?
I mean, yeah, that's like a 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
But, I mean, carrying back and forth.
So I really recommend a grill if you can have it at the place where you live. It's super easy, very little cleanup involved. You can do it most times of the year depending on where you live. So even back when I lived in Kansas growing up, we would grill in the middle of winter as long as it wasn't actually like raining or snowing at the time. So you're just running out there for a second to use it. It heats up really quickly if you're using the gas grill. So obviously charcoal tastes better. I have a smoker in the back. I use charcoal for that and wood. But as for someone living by themselves, or if you want like a quick way to cook, then gas is definitely the way to go. Just some things to think about with your gas grill. Always have a backup canister on hand. The worst thing ever is to get in the middle of cooking and have to go out and get a new propane canister. So I have quite a few canisters. It's kind of sad. I think I have like 4, but someone gave me a couple when they moved. My situation's a little bit jankety under here. I'm gonna go ahead and change this because I know it's really close to being out. And to change it, you just twist off the little thing in there. Yeah, actually, would you bring it out so they won't like hook it back up again? Enough. So one here. This was only $13.99, which is a really good price. Evidently it's backwards. It's not lefty-loosey. That was kind of weird.
Maybe you're holding it backwards.
All right, so this is the valve that connects here. So I'm just gonna pop that in there. And then this just twists on. Just make sure it basically won't thread on there unless it's in the right position. And then to light the grill, I always have this open when you turn on the gas. When we turn on the gas, I turn it on all the way. Crank in there. And then mine has the setting to start, and the little igniter still works, which a lot of times those will burn out. Once they do, you can just have the gas on and you can use one of those long lighters to light right underneath there where it lights. Okay, so if you see, it's pretty dirty from the last time I used it. I don't clean it beforehand. I actually end up cleaning it after. So we're gonna just close that and let it heat up. And then we're gonna kind of go start to prep for the Lebanese salad a little bit and talk about it. And I'll probably sneak away to throw this meat on when you guys aren't looking, but we'll come back and check on it in a minute. Okay, so let's go in to do the Lebanese cabbage. You're supposed to keep it on the... All right.
Oh, sorry. I'm not a Buddhist person.
All right, so next we're gonna make the side dish for this, which is that Lebanese cabbage dish that I got at the food cart. Grab that bowl. Yeah. All right, so basically we're gonna make this super as simple as possible because we are gonna have to fry the cauliflower. I wanted to make the rest of it really easy. So you can hop over here. I'll deal with the cauliflower. And you're going to be building the kind of the base to this, which is a bag of cabbage. So you just dump the cabbage in the bowl. And then this recipe that I ate the other day, it definitely had chopped onions and tomatoes in it and some parsley. So I just was, we're trying to save time here. I bought a box of pico de gallo, which is chopped onions, tomatoes. There's cilantro, which is only a little in here. It'll be fine. If you don't like cilantro, then you probably have to chop your own stuff. There's a little bit of jalapeno in here, there was also a little bit of spice in there. And just the bag of the coleslaw was already shredded. Like I didn't have to deal with doing any of that stuff. So you can go ahead and dump this in there. Just a note on the veggies and like the amount of carbs. Basically, you can eat as many green veggies as you can handle, and cabbage and cauliflower count as green veggies. But it's things like, go ahead and dump in there. Tomatoes, especially once they've been cooked, bell peppers, squash, like not summer squash, but like winter squash kind of stuff, like the things with the harder shells, like acorn squash, spaghetti squash. Those are all higher carbs. We did put tomatoes in this today. It's probably, like I know for myself in ketosis, it's probably okay that I eat some tomatoes and I can stay in. Some people are really sensitive to that and being able to stay in ketosis. So you could leave the tomatoes out if you want. But if you're just doing low carb and you're not worried about like 30 grams of carbs or less per day, then the tomatoes are totally cool for that too. All right, so next, so this is kind of like the base of the salad. And then I'm gonna get Isabel chopping a little bit. She said she's not a great chopper, but we're gonna prove that wrong today. So we're gonna also add some parsley, and I just got the Italian flat leaf parsley. And I want like, maybe like a quarter of a cup, just like a handful, chopped up as fine as you can. So what I'm gonna have her do is grab it and bunch it up and just roll it super tight like that so it's all bunched together. And then we're gonna use a knife like this that has a little bit of a round to it, so that tip is gonna stay right there. And then you're gonna curl those fingers under so you don't chop off the tips of your fingers, right? And you're gonna use that knuckle edge there to like kind of glide your knife across. So we're only lifting the knife up a teeny bit. So there's no way any of your finger can get underneath it. Cool? Why don't you go down about that far on it? Just get it as fine as you can. I'm gonna start heating up some oil over here. I'm gonna do this on high heat. This is to fry our cauliflower. This is how it's gonna be crispy. And I'm gonna use coconut oil. This is a nice healthy oil, so try not to lift this tip off the, just go, so press. So get a nice, so she's kind of holding the knife like this. We can't get any good leverage, so get up on it and hold it tight, and then you're just gonna go rock, 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 rock. So we're just using this to slide and press down. Okay. All right, so we're gonna start with some olive oil in the pan. And you might be wondering why my olive oil is liquid. That's because it's over like 80 degrees in here. Perfect. You can take this. If you to get this a little finer, you can always like bunch it up again and just kind of go back over it a couple times by throwing those big pieces in. Because like if you're eating this, you don't want to get like a giant chunk of parsley. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll go back.
And then I'll be over here cutting up some of this cauliflower. So I got the purple stuff today. They had green, they had some of that, I think they call it cheddar variety, so it's like kind of the orange color. You can use whatever color you want. And I'm gonna just cut them into kind of smaller bite-sized pieces. I'll show you here in a minute. Like kind of like that size. And I'm only gonna put a little bit at a time into the pan because I want them to get crispy. So right now behind me in the wok, the oil, coconut oil is heating. I'm gonna wait till it's heated up all the way, and then I'm only gonna throw a few of these in at a time, and then I'll start pulling them out. And we'll just throw them on top of the bowl here, and then we're gonna make a dressing in a minute to go with this, and we're gonna use a food processor for that. That smells really good, doesn't it? You can just throw it in there. It smells so good. Fresh parsley has an amazing smell. Makes everything really fresh. What is your favorite kind of like fresh herb to use?
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Does garlic count?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's technically not an herb, but like fresh, we'll go with the fresh part. That works.
I like basil.
Basil, cool. Yeah, really good. What do you use it in?
If I'm ever making like a spaghetti squash kind of like spaghetti.
Yeah, yeah.
Like tomato sauce.
Do you make your own tomato sauce?
I do not. No, I don't have.
Do you have one that you like to use?
Yeah, there's one we sell at Vaughn's. It's I think it's called Michael's of Brooklyn. And it doesn't have any of those like weird ingredients that we're supposed to stay away from. So,
Yeah, cool.
So it's pretty good one.
Excellent. All right. Actually, let's go back out to the grill really quick. I do want to show you how to clean it, and then we'll put the meat on, and then we'll finish up with our salad here. So the grill's been heating up the whole time we were kind of prepping. Would you on the camera? I have my little grill brush here. So now it's hot. All that stuff's smoking on there. And I'm just going to go over it with this wire brush. And that's going to clean it. So it's hot enough that it killed any of the germs on there now. And I'm just getting the big chunks off so we don't have like pieces of charcoal stuck to our food. But the grease and stuff on there, that's flavoring. It's kind of like when you season a pan and you don't like scrub certain types of pans. So like the cast iron. So we're going to put this beautiful skewer onto the grill. I have it on pretty high heat. I'm going to turn it down to like medium high. And that's just, I just know my grill. I like to cook it on a little higher heat for less time. So that's what we're going to do. I'll keep an eye on that. I think the oil should be warm now. So I'm going to have Isabel start just putting the the cauliflower into the oil, just a few at a time, just like a handful at a time. Go ahead and put it in the oil there. Be really careful as you set it down in there because it is hot. Just kind of like, slide it down in there more. Yeah. And then we're just going to, the key is to not over stir here. Hopefully we don't set a fire or smoke alarm. And we're just going to, I might throw a couple more in. And this will be about like, we don't really want them touching or anything because we want the oil to get around the sides and crisp them. And so we're just going to leave it in there. I know it's super tempting to stir, isn't it? So we're not going to stir, though, because over stirring equals flavorless and mushy. So we want to let it start to crisp and brown. And you can see this one right here. You can start to see it brown around the edges. We're going to wait till we see all of them kind of start to look like that. And then we're going to basically just kind of scoop it and like flip them over. And then after they're done, we're just going to scoop it right into our cabbage container. And that's where we'll like throw a dressing on at the last second here that we're gonna make. It's gonna be great. Oh, this was coconut oil. Yeah, so remember that's one of our high temperature cooking oils. And I think it's just a good flavor for this dish. I'm pretty sure the one that I had in Portland was fried in olive oil, which is not something that we want to do for the health reasons that it oxidizes the oil and it actually can cause inflammation. Not awesome for you. We're trying to do everything we can to avoid inflammation. Look how yummy that looks. You could totally just have this fried cauliflower as its own like side dish, but it's just it's a piece of this dish. It's gonna be great. You like cauliflower? I'm learning to like cauliflower. Hopefully this will help.
Yeah. Not yet started using it in like small little pieces,
yeah.
Like I'm graduating to bigger pieces.
So she's starting to like cauliflower, starting with baby pieces, kind of like this. Really tiny. We're going to crisp it up. It's going to be amazing. So what we're going to do, we'll switch out this batch. We're going to put in one more, a couple more batches, and I'll man that while Isabel starts to make the dressing for this. This is kind of like a warm salad. It's great for the summer. Amazing. So, great. Notice how I'm using like my little metal spoon for this. And I'm just going to scoop them out and just throw them right on top of our salad for now. They can just sit there for a minute until we're done. You know what? I think any kitchen store, you can actually get these at the dollar store. You get a lot of great kitchen stuff at the dollar store. I would actually recommend checking that out. Go ahead and put another couple handfuls in there. Cool. Kind of space them apart there. All right, so I'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back over here and get started on the dressing for this, and that's what we're going to use the food processor for. And the dressing is going to be a lemon, cumin, olive oil, garlic dressing. We are going to use some garlic for something else, so we're actually going to blend that up first. We're using the mini chop here, so please in our mini chop. This is the only food processor I have. I've actually had larger ones and tend to use this one a little bit more. I even use this one when I was catering meals. I was cooking meals for 100 people a day, and I would use this mini chop. So you can do a lot with the mini chop, right? So I'm going to have Isabel blend up this garlic. And notice I bought the garlic that's already peeled. Trust me, it's totally worth it. Buy one of these, even if you don't quite use it all. It's such a pain to peel garlic. That was like the first blooper, wasn't it? Will you put them all in there? I'm going to go check on the meat really quick. She's going to, okay, so she's going to start by, we just want to get some garlic chopped up because I want to use it for another recipe too. So she's going to put all the cloves in there and smile really pretty for a minute.
I'm not that funny, so we're just going to put the garlic in the food processor.
This is so we don't have to chop all this by hand. What do I do with that? Oh,
Can I turn it on?
Try to.
I'll cover it though.
Yeah. So that's the cool thing about the food processor. You can't accidentally chop your finger off because everything has to line up. And for this one, that has to be, the handle has to be straight ahead. And then this thing has to latch in there. And then, yeah, then you can do it. So just like, kind of keep pulsing until it's pretty ground up. Let's actually put a second package in there. We're going to grind up 2 packages. And then we're going to make the rest of the dressing in that container too. Yeah, see if you can open it without shooting garlic everywhere. They made it tricky. The little packages are tricky.
It's a little slippery.
There's some scissors back there too.
I'm going to do that.
That's why I went psh, and the garlic like volcanoed out. All right, while she's doing that, I'm going to get some more cauliflower. out the secret code. You're almost there.
It's tricky, guys.
This
trickier than it looks.
Yes, there. I can't get it. There we go. All right.
Righty tighty. I'm turning the wrong way.
Oh, the water's doing weird. All right, so we're gonna save some of that aside for the zucchini spaghetti. And then the rest of it's gonna be used in the dressing for this. So I'm just gonna pull out everything that I don't want in the dressing. And like I said, I'll give you guys measurements. You don't have to worry about it. Honestly, like I haven't measured a thing most of my life. But I will give you measurements if you really like them. I know some people feel more comfortable with that, but if you're not baking, you really don't need to be super precise with things as far as the measurements go. But if you need some guidelines or some ideas, that's what they're for. So we're gonna juice the lemon. If you don't have a lemon juicer, you can just hold your hand out to catch the seeds there and then just squeeze it in. Why don't you juice 2 lemons like that for me? And there's another one in that bowl over there. All right, so into this dressing is going lemon juice, garlic, we'll put in olive oil, cumin, salt, and pepper. And then we're gonna just toss it around with our yummy goodness over here. Probably gonna go ahead and use the whole head of cauliflower. I was just gauging it to see if we would need it, but it looks really yummy, so. And I also want some. I'm not gonna let Isabel have all of this one.
Oh, sure.
She's like, can I bring anything? I want just Tupperware. Because I'm like the person that sends people home with food all the time. And the Tupperware definitely gets passed around. We have a rule at the gym that you can use a spoon to get it out if you drop the seed in there. We clean out the fridge on Sundays. Like I went and worked out this morning in one of the locations. And I'll clean out the fridge, and then I get to keep whatever Tupperware I want. So if there's any good glass containers, that's how I collect on mine. But I think it's only fair because I clean them, and otherwise they're just in there like rotting and stuff. So I'm doing really a public service. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that other garlic I pulled aside, we're going to use it in another recipe. And if we don't, then I'll just put it in the fridge and I'll already have some chopped. It'll be good for the next couple days. But after that, it does start to get really pungent once it's been chopped. So try not to chop too far ahead of time on the garlic. That's one thing you want to prep right at the time. I was just checking on the pork, which looks amazing. We'll go back out there in a minute to pull it off and talk about how I know when it's done and all that kind of stuff. What's going on here?
I'm a seed dropper.
Seed dropper. So I didn't see how you're doing it, but did you put it like that?
Yeah, it's just like the liquid got in and it just like slips out the side. Anyway, do it better than me if you do this. Okay. All right. I think we're good now.
Cool. So let's get some olive oil. You can go ahead and rinse your hands off. So the olive oil to acid ratio, and the acid that we're using today in this recipe is lemon juice. A lot of times it would be some sort of vinegar. So it's usually going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can kind of just see where the lemon juice comes up on the line. And we might actually go a little bit heavier on the oil, maybe closer to a 2-to-1 ratio. If I don't use all of this for this, I'm just going to save it. It'll be like a nice dressing for veggies or a salad or whatever. And then we're going to put in some cumin. Probably around like there's a hefty amount. It's going to be close to a teaspoon. And then pepper. I always just use fresh pepper. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. How are you? 233. That's my scientific way of deciding how many to do. So this sea salt, this is awesome salt. I think I've showed you guys this before. I get this on Amazon, but I first had it when I was traveling a couple years ago in Spain. And it's like this really great finishing salt. Look at this giant piece. Look at that giant salt crystal. I've been saving that one, so don't accident. Oh, this is the one. Don't accidentally use this one today. We'll set it to the side.
Take it out.
Take it out. Okay, I'm going to set it there for now. She might accidentally use it. That's been there since the very top of the container. Been holding off. So this is going to be really great salt for one of our recipes in a minute. I'll tell you why, just because of the coarseness. So we'll get to that in a minute. All right, see if you can get the lid on now.
All right. It's like a specific one. Oh. I got it.
Yay! All right, so lift it up. Where are we going? We want you to hold that on for this one. I'm just moving it around a little bit so that stuff comes up the side. Yeah, there we go. Just to get this off. And then we're just going to hold it down for a few seconds until it's all blended. And if we don't see like giant chunks of garlic, which is probably good now. If we were going to serve this as a salad dressing alongside, and we didn't want it to separate because the lemon juice and the olive oil will separate after it's sitting here for a while, we could emulsify it, which means get those two things to mix together and stay together with a squirt of mustard in there. And it wouldn't really alter the flavor that much. It would just make it stay creamy. So if you wanted to take it to work tomorrow for a salad dressing, it would look nicer. You wouldn't have to shake it or anything. We're mixing it in, so it doesn't really matter. So the question, because we were talking earlier, she asked, could we use this stuff? This is collagen gelatin, and it's a thickener. This would thicken it, but it wouldn't keep it from separating. We were talking about possibly using it in gravies to thicken. It's just the gelatin and collagen from the grass-fed cow ground down. So you could use it. I use it more for desserts, like puddings and that kind of stuff with coconut milk, because it makes it like a pudding consistency. I've done like an avocado pudding with it. So it's kind of like, you can make like a Jello, you know, those like Jello squares or whatever. You could do that with different stuff. All right, we're getting close. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I think the meat's probably ready. So I'm gonna get a clean plate. Isabel is. I'll man it. All right, so we're gonna take a look-see. All right, so the meat, look how yummy it is. So I'm just gonna kind of, since those smaller pieces, we don't want to overcook it. And pork could actually be cooked to medium and still be okay. And so look how delicious that is, just steaming and delicious. So I'm gonna turn it off first with the lid open. You never want the gas to build up inside of there. And then I'm gonna turn off the gas, which I totally forgot to cover. We won't talk about the bajankety situation down here. Okay, so we're gonna turn it all the way, that knob that on the top that we loosened in the beginning. We're gonna make sure it's closed all the way off. And then otherwise I'm just gonna close that down, bring our stuff inside. We should be ready. And you can just set that right there for now. The cauliflower should be about ready. I'm gonna have Isabel come over and kind of just man the last couple batches of cauliflower here. Okay, so we're getting low on the oil in there, so I am gonna just top it off with just like another splash because we have one more batch after this, so that's ready to kind of be flipped. Okay, just gonna like mix and stir, and then it'll just hold on to this too, so it doesn't somehow flip on.
Okay, hopefully I'm better at this than chopping. You can see it's really not as easy as you make it look.
Super crispy though, huh?
Yeah.
Really good. So I have that on high heat. We don't want it to like steam and get soft. We want just the outsides to crisp and then it'll cook through. That's good. All right, so what we have left here is just to finish this and one more batch. A little bit of grease on my computer. I almost set that on fire. Okay, let's try not to do that. All right, so we have one more batch of cauliflower to do, and then we're going to toss this dressing in on top of it, and we've been collecting it right there. Good. So it'll be kind of like a warm, cool salad. And then next, we're just going to make dinner, which is going to be super easy. We actually need the cooktop because we're going to make a steak, which Isabel loves. She is a carne asada fan, but we are going to make strip steaks today. And we're going to actually cook these inside on the, kind of like a flat top pan. And that's the way I prefer to cook steaks for myself because I feel like I have a lot better control over the final cooking temperature of it. And sometimes I walk away from the grill, especially with ribeyes, which are my favorite kind of steak. They're very fatty, so the fat drips down inside at the grill, and then it flares up, and you end up way more well done than I like. I actually prefer like medium rare to rare steaks, and that's really hard to achieve on the grill and also getting a crispy outside, because by the time you get the crispy outside on the grill, everything inside is also very well done. So that's my preference as far as cooking them on the stovetop, and that's why we're going to do it that way. But let's go ahead and grab that bowl there and move it back to your station here. Okay, so we're just going to start mixing in this dressing. Use this nice big stirrer. And I'm just going to start pouring it over, and you're just going to kind of just stir from underneath as I pour it on there. We're just trying to coat it. Oh, we should probably taste it first, actually. Taste it before you coat everything. So just like kind of take a little lick and see if it needs something.
That's really good.
It actually is really good.
I guess I am the right age.
Yeah. So I'm just going to dump. I think we're going to probably need all of that. We might even have to make a little more. We'll see. Go ahead and just kind of scoop and toss. So we're going to have to coat it here. It looks amazing. And it's not like a super dressing coated meal, but it's definitely tastier if every bite has a little bit on it. This last little batch of cauliflower, I'm actually going to toss around in there and then dump it in so we can get every last drizzle. My mom taught me that. She used to make like cakes and cupcakes when we were little. She would scrape the container so good. Like we got to lick the bowl, but there was nothing in there to lick because she like got every last teaspoon with the spatula. We're like, Mom,
She's too good.
yeah. Okay, almost done. The salad is coated. It's kind of a salad, kind of a side dish. We're doing 2 salad type things today. Just so you know, a few of the crispy cauliflower in there. You want to taste one of the cauliflower? Sure. And then tell them about it.
That's really good.
Are you just saying that?
No.
What makes it good?
The dressing is like.
The dressing's good?
Yeah.
So I chose this salad with our skewers. Bring the skewer over there right next to it. Bring that whole plate over here. Because the skewers are curry, which has a little bit of cumin in it, and it just really complements, the salad complements it. So there's cumin and lemon and stuff, and it's going to be a really good match for that.
I like that it's crispy.
She likes that it's crispy too.
Crispy.
That definitely helps. Soggy's not usually good.
Yeah. That's usually when I make it, that's when it turns out.
Yeah, so what do you think is happening when you make it? Is it the over stirring?
Probably.
Yeah.
I stir a lot.
The more you stir, the less flavor your dish will have. That's a fact. Because it won't get crispy. It's not going to caramelize if you're stirring it. It's going to steam. Whether you're frying or it's in a pan. A lot of times people overload the pan too, and that way it won't get crispy if you do that. So, maybe smaller batches, resist the urge to stir, and you're going to get a lot more caramelization and crispness on the outside, which is what gives it all the flavor.
What if you bake it?
Baking, that's actually a good question. You could bake it with coconut oil, and I would really recommend using parchment paper if you do that. Put a layer on a pan, and then put a layer over the top, and that helps crisp it. Secret tip, parchment paper for Brussels sprouts too. Yeah, you just roasted veggies, whatever. All right, so that was the last batch. Woo! So when you're using a metal pan, expect the handle to be hot. All right, so I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to get every bit of that dressing. So I just put the last of the cauliflower in there. Just gonna kind of shake it around and there so I can get every little drop out of there. Isabel, toss it one more time, and then we'll set it aside because lunch is now done. We're going to move on to dinner, which is actually going to be pretty quick. And then we'll show you how to make a fun snack or kind of keto-friendly dessert, a little pudding. So cool. All right, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks really good. It also smells delicious.
It does smell really good. They're very high-tech kitchens. Okay, here we go. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way. So we are on to the steak and also the massage kale salad. We can actually do that. That's fine. So we only have lemon and parsley and some vegetables on this, and we're going to immediately cut some more vegetables up. We can use the same cutting board. Right? If this had meat on it, we would want to switch cutting boards or wash it really well. If this had vegetables cut on it like it did, but it's been sitting out a couple of hours, then we would need to wash that before we even used it. But since we literally just used it, we can go ahead and use it again, and we won't be getting cross-contamination or risk of illness or anything. All right, so you get to use my giant bowl. Bought this for myself as a Christmas gift one year. It is I actually got it at the Costco store, but for restaurant supply. It was like $8, and it's huge. It's awesome. So I actually had one like this when I first moved into this house. It was Halloween, and I was getting tired, so I needed to take a shower and go to bed. So I set up my big salad bowl of candy out, full well knowing the candy would be gone, right? Like, of course, the kids are going to take the candy. They took my bowl. I was really upset. And so I went out and found a new one. It's actually super handy to have. I don't use it a ton, but for occasions like this, kale salad, when you're going to have like a lot of stuff to mix, you're cooking for a lot of people, or sometimes you just need a big bowl of ice to stick cold drinks in outside or something like that. This come in really handy. So that is what we're going to use here. This is some organic kale. I actually usually would use this stuff for my garden, but right now I have used most of it. Sorry, it's probably really loud in the background there. We're not going to burn anything anymore. All right, so I've actually already washed this, so it's dry-ish, and I'll show you how to kind of dry it some more. It doesn't really matter like how big the pieces are because Isabel's going to massage it. She's going to give it a massage. So it's all going to break down and soften. So we're going to be able to eat this kale raw, but it's not going to be like super tough like kale can be. And it's also, this is going to be one serving. You're going to need a whole head of kale. It's only going to be like 5 or 6 grams of carbs, okay? So it's along with that green vegetable, like fluffy green vegetables. You can basically eat so many and it won't affect your ketosis level. And I'll show you, I'll actually pull out my little testing instrument here in a little bit. We'll test ourselves to see how close to ketosis we are. But to prick our fingers, we'll be like blood sisters. Okay, so we do have to get the stems off though, and it's not as difficult as it seems. One way that I really like to do it is just to get a knife. Where's the, it's dirty. All right, I think I used that. All right, so I'm going to take the knife just down the side of the stem like that, and just cut the green off. So I'm going to have you do that.
What kind? Is this like a specific kind of kale?
This is just kind of like your regular kale. And I don't know, I used to see it a lot on buffets, like as the decoration on the buffets.
It's a nice garnish.
Because I think people didn't really know what to do with it. So I'm just cutting the stem off. I'm just holding it by the stem and just sliding the knife right down the stem. How about that? Can you do that?
I think I can.
All right, so go ahead and do that. And then this batch too. And I will start talking about the steak. All right, so Isabel's going to be busy doing that for a minute. I'm going to come over here and talk about meat. Some stuff away. All right. Do you need more coffee?
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
Good. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a strip steak today. And actually, let me show you. So it's just waiting here on this plate. I actually had it all individual serving size. One of our meal prep strategies is to buy stuff when it's on sale and then freeze it. So I bought a bunch of steaks the other day. They were in the manager's special bin, so they'd just been put out because they had to be sold in the next couple days. They're 50% off. Those are the grass-fed ones, so it was really awesome. I bought like 6 of them and then individually wrapped them up in plastic wrap and put them in the freezer so that I could just pull one out at a time and thaw it, because I don't need to have like 6 steaks at a time, and I like to cook every day. So, all right, so I'm going to use my Cajun seasoning on this, and I'm going to coat it really well. And in the meantime, I'm heating up this pan on high, and there's no oil in it besides just like a teeny bit that was on that spoon that I rested in there a minute ago. So I'm just going to dump a bunch on there and then like press it in. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to have to turn the fan back on in a minute because of like the spices in here. They will kind of start to blacken on the pan, if you will. And I make sure and get the fat along the edges, because there's nothing better than a little fatty, spicy piece, in my opinion. All right, so this is actually going to be 2 servings here. So I'm going to cut it to half ahead of time just because it's easier to deal with in the pan.
That's a lot of seasoning.
Yeah, so I went for it. It's Cajun seasoning. It has a lot of flavor. It's not terribly spicy. Ah, so you think you're done there, huh?
Oh, I'm massaging?
Oh, wait, I'll show you in a minute. We have to add some stuff.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to leave that there for a minute and then show Isabel what to do over here with the kale. I want to wash my hands good because I touched raw meat, and I'm going to show her what to do. And we're not going to cook this kale, so we don't want any kind of cross-contamination with that. So that's why I have her over here separate. Okay, so all right, so in our giant bowl, she's got the kale. And so as she's massaging it, like if you kind of see like some of these pieces, like everything will break down except for that. You can pull out little bits of stem if you come across them. But it looks pretty good. All right, so the dressing for this is olive oil, lemon juice, salt, and then we'll put some pepper on it last second. Remember, this is going to be 2 servings. This is 2 servings, maybe 3, but isn't that crazy?
That's gigantic.
So look how gigantic. This was a giant bowl, remember? It's like way bigger than my head for sure. So I'm going to shoot for 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil per serving. So that's like 45 grams of fat per serving, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we went a little heavy because I think it's not covering. And then I need you to do your lemon trick again. So let's start with 1.5 lemons. And this time I'll let you use the tool. How about that? So we actually do have a lemon juicer. I just made it the real way before. So when you use the lemon juicer, so you're still going to cut it in half like normal. And then it's kind of counterintuitive. You're actually going to put it what looks like upside down in there and not like that. So it squeezes it through. And then we're just going to do that with 1.5 lemons. Meanwhile, my pan is smoking, which means it's hot, hot, hot. I'm going to start the fan, and I'm going to put my steaks on. And once I put them down, that's it. I'm not touching them for a couple minutes. So get them in the place you want. Otherwise, you start moving them around, they're not going to crisp on the bottom, and that coating's going to fall off and stuff, and we don't want that. All right, Chef Isabella's over here.
Voila.
Voila. You know the chef from the Muppets? When he's like a big chef hat.
No, I never watched that. Is that me?
Yeah. All right, so we got 1.5 lemons in there. And then besides the acid, which is going to really help, the lemon juice acid is going to help break this down. The other thing that really helps break it down is our coarse salt. So we're going to sprinkle that over the top. And then Isabel's going to just get in here with her hands. Right, so we always make sure our hands are clean, and you're just going to start squeezing and massaging like you're just like rah, rah, rah. It's going to take like 5 minutes probably. And in the meantime, we'll talk about the zucchini here. This is the other part of our meal. So we could actually, right now we could be prepping, because we're making a steak that's 2 servings, and we made a skewer that's 2 servings. We're actually making a couple days worth of meals here. So let's say this was our prep day and we're just making a couple recipes on Sunday and we're gonna have dinner here in a minute, have some of it, but then we have at least three more meals that we can package up. And it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like, it's just taking us an hour or less to do all this. And it's actually taking longer than it normally would because we're talking and like,
I'm slow.
And she's slow and we're running around, not doing stuff at the same time. We're kind of breaking it down recipe by recipe. So this wouldn't even take you, you know, this could take 45 minutes or maybe an hour because I did do some prep. So it shouldn't be too bad. Just get in there. Don't be afraid to squeeze it. Just going to be going for a while. I'm going to talk to you about a mandolin. All right, so this is not the tiny guitar. This is a cutting instrument that is very sharp. Very sharp. Okay, so just so you know. All right, so we're going to use it to make our spaghetti cut of the zucchini here. If you don't have a mandolin, you could use a vegetable peeler, and you can just peel strips of it. They actually make little tools. I think you can get like Bed Bath & Beyond or on Amazon where it's specifically to make spaghetti out of zucchini. I might have one here somewhere, actually. Oh, yeah. Like this, you stick the zucchini in and you twist, and it actually comes up the side there. I prefer the mandolin. I'll show you here in a minute. All right, look at all that. Don't be scared. That's goodness right there. Is he dizzy yet? Let's spun him in a circle. All right, so how do you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
Medium rare, perfect. So we both like medium rare. See how nice and that person's kidding to me. Nice and black and that is right there. It's really rare still. We're gonna leave it on there just enough to do that same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna be perfectly medium rare. So it's gonna go maybe another minute to 2 tops. It was on there maybe 4 minutes before. So it's pretty much gonna be cooked. All right, so what we're gonna do is with our little, let's see if I can find my safety tool. I should probably do it with a safety tool to show you the right way. Unless I can't find it. Oh, here it is. All right, so it does come with this so you don't slice your fingers somehow, and that's what holds onto it right there. So you can, we'd have to cut it into shorter pieces. You can tell I don't use the safety tool very often. So there's like a little thing you can stab it on in there, and then you take it over. And if we look, it's what it's doing is slicing into these spaghetti. How's it going there? So I'll do one and I'll have you do the other. So this I would have just sliced my finger. Definitely do not do it without this tool or without, like, you could use like the mesh gloves also work. And they make them, they sell them at like kitchen stores just for this purpose. And for like shucking oysters and that kind of thing. So look how much she's breaking that down. I'm gonna taste a little piece to see. Yeah, pretty good seasoning. Still a little bit tough. So I'm gonna turn off the steak. I'm not only turning off the steak, I'm gonna pull it off the heat because it's gonna continue to cook. Look how yummy those are. And those are about 4-ounce cuts of steak. I can eyeball it pretty well just from having cooked, but we can weigh it in a minute if you want. I also know that the steak was 10 ounces before I cooked it. It probably lost at least an ounce or so in the cooking process. Just the moisture gets cooked out of it. So these are gonna be about 4 ounces of meat right there. Doesn't that smell really good? Yeah. That was just that Cajun seasoning. I think I showed you a couple times. When we did the kitchen tour, I know I put it out. I get this at Smart & Final. It's like the only place I can find it now. It's McCormick brand. All it is seasonings. There's no preservatives or MSG or anything in it. And it's garlic, salt, onion, paprika, and red pepper. So a lot of stuff, a lot of flavor, not super spicy, but it does have a little bit of heat to it. All right, now we're talking. Now it looks good. I think you're probably done. Eat a piece that's on your hand. What do you think about the
Kale?
good, huh?
Yeah.
Surprisingly good. All right, so I'm gonna let her wash her hands again, and then she's gonna come back over here and give her a try at the mandolin. And we're also gonna use the mandolin to do some onions with a different setting on it, so it just slices them. And then all we have to do is cook that up really quick, and I'll show you guys how to make the pudding. And then we're pretty much done. Isn't that crazy? What time did we start?
Maybe like 11:30.
Yeah. So we've been going about 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
Questions, thoughts so far? Like, did you think that is anything surprising or different than what you expected for ketosis versus what you heard or what you thought or whatever?
No, I mean, you know, there's a lot of, it's a lot of fat. Like, I'm not.
A lot of fat, yeah.
Used to cooking with that much fat. Like, you probably use like at least half of this thing.
Yes.
Olive oil.
I probably used a quarter of the olive oil in our 2 recipes today. A quarter of this whole jar. So this was about half full, and it's a little bit less than a quarter now, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that part's kind of shocking just because, you know, like before I started this program, like, everything's so like, it's got to be low fat.
So basically what ketosis does, and you can go ahead and start, let's start using the mandolin there. It's all set up for you. Ketosis is taking carbs out and replacing them with fat. So you're just going to go, yeah. Just keep it on the board and just slide back and forth, but press down more. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So make sure you come all the way off, all the way back. Yeah, there you go. All right. And if it gets close to the edge, I'll show you what to do.
Yeah, we're pretty close to the end.
I'm looking for another pan. Might grease.
Like driving.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, she got almost down to the end. All right, so something in the sink is hot and a little bit of water is touching it, so there's like a crazy noise happening right now. So see how some of them kind of broke up a little bit? Those are the ones that you didn't like clear the zucchini with, if that makes sense. You were kind of just right in there. So
Gotcha.
long strokes. Cool. So we have 2 more halves of zucchini to do. Then we're gonna do onions. Hopefully we won't hurt our eyes. I'm gonna get this pan ready so I can clear some space for you. We're gonna use the block again.
Sorry,
Yeah, so we're gonna go a long way here. So to get it to stick in there, you gotta let that drop down, and then we're gonna just stick it on that, and then we're gonna go that. So let me actually clear. All right, so we got a good start here. Cool. See, I'm about to. I didn't touch anything.
Bless you,
yeah.
bless you, bless you, bless you.
Usually I do 5 to 7. All right, so we're gonna finish up those 2. We're gonna get some onion in there, and then for this one, I think I'm actually throw a little butter in there. A little bit different fat for this recipe. Try to mix it up especially when you're having so much fat that is coming from all different sources. So we used olive oil, we used coconut, we used butter.
I bought some like ghee the other day. Can you use that in
absolutely.
the same way as butter?
Yeah, I would use it exactly the same as butter. It's clarified butter, so it's been heated up, and then the milk solids have been scooped off the top. Cool. One last one there. This is the recipe that we're going to use a little bit of garlic in. So we have butter and the zucchini spaghetti in there. We're going to throw in a little bit of garlic. And we're just going to cook it up. It's going to be great. Well, that's good. So, like we can always use those for something else. I can cook them up with something later so they don't get wasted. or you could throw them in your composter or whatever. All right, so this is gonna come over to the stove. You saw I have a couple tablespoons of butter in there. And otherwise, I'm just gonna turn it on. I'm just gonna spread it out a little bit. And this is one of those things we don't want to over stir, right? So that's all I'm gonna do for now. Make sure that garlic's, oh, sorry, the onion. We'll go back to that. I'll spare you. I'll do the onion.
I don't mind. I'll do it.
So I'm going to change the setting on this. We were cutting it in the spaghetti strips, so I don't want that anymore. I'm just going to go with nothing, and then I can adjust the thickness by turning it more. And we want pretty thin slices on the onion. I have this one I used half the other day. So I'm just going to get the skin off real quick. And this is nice. You could do, to dice an onion, you could like go down one way and then slice it across and dice it. I'm just going to do the nice thin rounds like that. It should be coming up pretty thin, almost paper thin there. We don't want, we don't need to.
So if you were dicing it, you just turn it around?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to do about a half an onion. But it's nice, easy way to slice and not have to start crying too much. Don't do what I'm doing.
This looks very nice.
Yeah, like a little handful of that's going to go in right in the top there. And then when we flip it, we'll flip it kind of like we did with the cauliflower. All right, so I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way. So for dinner, we're having our steak, our kale salad, and our spaghetti. And it's all kind of cooking right now. And then the last thing that we're going to make today is a snack or dessert. I'm going to talk about some different options for that for you guys. I typically am pretty full just from eating so much fats, but sometimes you do feel like you need a snack or you need to have something on hand for or in a pinch, or if you're like traveling or whatever. Some good options for snacks for ketosis plan. I love just avocado. I'll just eat like a whole or a half avocado, or sometimes I'll cut up avocado and put olive oil on it and then some sort of spice blend. So I get like a double fat bomb that way. Another thing that I like to do is the coconut chips, and this is all it is coconut. There's nothing added to it. I got them at Sprouts, but you can get these anywhere really. And they're like the big flakes. You can see in there, they're like the bigger chunks. It's not like the super fine. You can get the super fine too. And then 86% dark chocolate. So I'll do like, 3 tablespoons is 10 grams of fat. I'll probably do like 6 to 8 tablespoons of this. So I'm having 20 to 25 grams of fat. And then just 1 square of this. Okay, so 4 squares has 25 grams of fat and 15 grams of carbs, but we're only going to have 1 square or half a square. So it's about 4 grams of carbs per square. So sometimes if I have a couple extra carbs to spare and I want something kind of like a treat, I'll throw this in with my coconut, and it's pretty guilt-free. And then the third favorite kind of snack / dessert that I like is this chocolate pudding that I make. So I already made a batch because it does take a couple hours to set. But I'm going to have Isabel make a batch to show you guys how to do it. So the finished product is, it's actually a chocolate chia seed kind of moussey pudding kind of thing. We'll let Isabel taste it here. It's made out of coconut milk. We'll get the whole recipe going here in just a sec. So this is just a fat bomb, basically. And then there's a lot of fiber in there from the chia seeds. So be careful how much you eat when you first make it. That container that you saw was like a 2 to 4 servings. I heard someone told me that if you eat the whole container at once, it's not good. Like if you haven't been eating chia seeds, you definitely want to start little doses at a time. They can be a laxative, but also if you eat a whole bunch at once, they will stop you up. And so I'll tell you, it's kind of an embarrassing story. You can ditch that if you want. The first time I made this, I ate the whole thing because it was really good. And I was just like, oh, this is great. And then I could feel those chia seeds in my gut for like 2 days. And like here, and then I could feel them moving over here. And then I'm like, oh yeah, they clump together. They suck out whatever moisture's there and they stick together. I was like, oh, now it's in my small intestine. Like I would know exactly where it was during the whole process. So that was really interesting because it was, you know, digestion and like actually being able to feel where the food is, but it was really, really uncomfortable. So if you make that batch, I'd say that's a couple days supply there just to be safe. But then once you're used to, your body's used to it, they're actually, they're really nice for fiber and then kind of keeping everything regular and flowing through. So we'll make that here in just 1 second. Let's check on our stuff here. All right, so we haven't touched it since we put it in the pan. It's just kind of like browning on the bottom, hopefully. And I'm just gonna flip it around a little bit. Ideally, I would have used that pan I cooked the steaks in, but it was really dirty and I didn't want to cook it, or sorry, clean it too much. So I'm just gonna, see how there's all that moisture in there? That's because it's like piled on top of each other. If this was spread out more, it would brown and crisp more. But we're gonna do the best we can with this. Technically, it's probably already cooked all the way through. Some of that's butter and moisture too. So we're just gonna let that go another couple minutes and that'll be a side dish and we'll finish it with like salt and pepper. You could throw fresh basil in it since you like that. But I actually had some fresh basil and I pulled it out this morning for this and it was no longer good. So I was like, so we're gonna go basil-less. So if stuff like that happens when you're cooking, don't fret, it happens. Just leave it out, throw something else in, parsley in or whatever else you wanna do. All right, you ready to make the pudding? Yeah. It's pudding time, pudding time. All right. So it's kind of some of the similar ingredients to what we use for the coffee drink. We're gonna make it in here because it's really easy to shake. So I just get like these things at the farmer's market. It comes with, usually this is like sauerkraut or something. The label hasn't all peeled off yet, but I like to reuse these jars. All right, so we're gonna make this with coconut milk. Go ahead and take that, shake it, open up the package, dump it in there. So we're gonna do the whole box, so that's 45 grams of fat right there. So if you are eating it, you're kind of keeping track of how much of the recipe you've eaten, right? Because it can add up pretty quick. I lost the lid for my special salt. Good. Oh, hi, Alice. Oh, it's underneath. Did you guys hear Alice? It's been pretty quiet. Okay, so we're gonna go whole box of coconut milk, 1/4 cup of chia seeds, and then we'll go a capful of vanilla. So what thickens this is the chia seeds and also the cocoa powder is quite a thickener. So if you like dark chocolate, medium chocolate?
Probably
lighter. Okay, so I like mine really dark, so I'll do like a heaping tablespoon. She likes like a little bit lighter, so we'll do more like a level tablespoon because otherwise it can be a little bit bitter. And then if you don't put sweetener in this one, it's not tasty because of the cocoa powder. So I'm using stevia. It's not going to affect our ketone levels or our blood sugar level at all. And I just know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is the amount of drops. It's very scientific.
every time.
Yeah, no matter what you're making. And then what you do is you just twist this on and you just vigorously shake 100 shakes.
Oh,
yeah, for time. I like to break it up into 50. Count out every 10.
20, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
It's tiring, isn't it?
70, 80, 90, 100.
Woo! All right, that's good. So we just really want to get it so that the chia seeds aren't stuck to the bottom or stuck to each other in there. And then this is just going to go in the fridge for a couple hours. You can take home the one that I made earlier. Or actually, you can take it home because that was lighter chocolate. All right, let's finish off dinner, and then we'll package this up. We'll measure our ketone levels. I guarantee you I'm probably not in ketosis. I did go out and have some fun last night, but I usually try to do it during the week. So this will be my motivator to get started. Look at that. It's starting to brown a little bit more than I thought. Okay, so that's already cooked through. I'm just going to turn it off. It'll finish browning there. And then you want to grab your Tupperware and we can kind of dish it up and talk about it again. Okay, just keep watching that yummy food. So. All right. So when we're packaging some of this up for Isabel to take, a little bit of meal prep is done. Are you going to be taking any of this for like to lunch for work? So the work for lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, I kind of just brought bigger.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So it's kind of up to you guys how you want to package things. If she was going to like take this to work tomorrow, and we already just want to like box up a box lunch, you might put it all into one container. If she's going to, go home and use it for different stuff, then she can put it in separate containers. It's just however you guys think you're going to use it best. We'll just give her the whole skewer because we prepped some stuff for me. So if the skewer doesn't fit in there, you can always just slide the meat right off into there. It might actually fit on the diagonal.
It's close.
Yeah.
I'll just slide it off.
Yeah, so either here, yeah. Perfect. It should slide off perfectly. It looks really perfectly cooked. I did pull it off when it was still a little bit like soft. You can see there's a little bit of pink, which is totally fine for pork. Okay, you can eat pork at medium. Just sampling it. Really good. Cool. So that was the curry coconut pork. And with that, intended with that is our salad here. So just that nice complement of the cumin and the curry together. So I'm going to give her a nice big container of this. And I'm going to totally keep some of this salad because remember I had it last weekend and loved it. So I'm going to split see this one. But we can get a lot in there. This will actually keep a couple days. So obviously the cabbage is going to be crisper right in the beginning and like the crispy cauliflower. But it's still, I had some left over when I went and I ate some the next day and it was totally delicious then too. So, and then we're going to do the same thing with the massaged kale. How about just leaving like a serving of that, and then some steak. So the massaged kale, you can actually get, really, yeah, take more scoops. Yeah, there's so much. This is going to be best the day of, but it also is pretty darn good the next day. You could put a little bit of light dusting of Parmesan cheese on it. Typically dairy would be out on ketosis, but something like a hard cheese like that that's just like an accent or a flavor enhancing at the end is not really adding any kind of carbs and stuff like other dairy would. So there's that. It's cool. I'm going to give you both of these. Okay, so what's going to happen here? She's getting 2 steak dinner meals. She's going to have a steak with the kale, that would be one meal, and then a steak with this spaghetti would be a second meal. Okay, so it's already portioned out for we've got 2 meals worth with, so this is 2 servings, and then she's got 2 servings of the pork. And what else? Oh, you have your keto pudding. And then let's get this packaged up here. So we're gonna go ahead and grab, probably use the tongs over here. You can take all of that if it all fits in there.
You don't want any?
That's fine. I can always make. I can't eat I'm not like personally I don't like to have a lot of leftovers. I'm not very good about eating leftovers. It works really well for some people. So that's why I'm sitting here with all this. I just know, like, looking at the food, like, all right, I have a lot of food here to eat in the next couple days. So that's another serving right there. So that was 2 zucchini and a half an onion. So that's probably about maybe 10 to 15 grams of carbs. So you can see how quickly it can add up, but if you're sticking to those green veggies, then it really helps. Alice!
Isn't zucchini green?
What's that? Yeah, zucchini counts as greens.
Oh,
So zucchini is like a summer squash, yellow squash. Those type of squashes are very, very low carb. But things like acorn squash and spaghetti squash have more dense carbs in them. She's got that. Let me adjust this. Did we miss anything? Where'd that list go?
Isn't there? No, I think that was it.
That was it. Because we did breakfast, which she's finishing breakfast. Lunch was the cabbage and the pork. There's 2 different versions of dinner with a steak, and then there's a snack. That's it. All right, so do you want to measure?
Sure.
You have to prick yourself. Okay, so
I don't expect you to.
yeah, so what we're doing ketosis is we're eliminating carbs, and so that's usually a pretty main fuel source for most people because of the amount that they eat in their diet. So if you're not eating that amount, in ketosis we're eating less than 30 grams a day, but definitely under 50 grams a day. Usually try to stick less than 30. What happens is that if there are no carbs in your system, and this is all in the lesson, so you can get more detail on this, but just to review, there's no carbs in your system, your body searches for another fuel source, and it uses fat as fuel. And in that process, is creating ketone bodies, which is also a form of fuel. So people are like, don't I need carbs for my brain to function and that kind of stuff? Yes, you do, or you need ketones for that, okay? And so your body produces its own macronutrient that's very efficient way to burn energy, and it's really long-lasting, sustainable energy for your body. So we're burning like this. If you picture lighting some fat on fire, it's gonna melt, and then it's gonna simmer, and eventually it's gonna all cook off. But if you lit sugar, it's gonna like melt right away and disappear really quickly. So it's kind of the same thing that's going on in your body. So what we're measuring with this system is the level of ketones in our blood. So the fewer carbs we have, the more ketones we're gonna have. So this is how we figure out if we're in ketosis. You can never really guess if you're in ketosis. You really do have to measure to know. And so when I get into a good routine with it, I'll typically just measure once every 3 days. Or if I ate something or drank something that I know could kick me out of it, then I'll just do it to test. But these strips are kind of expensive. I get them on eBay for a pretty good deal. But if you just bought these like from the store, they're like $3 a strip. So that can add up. $3 a day testing, you know, it's like 90 bucks a month that you're spending on these strips. I get them on eBay. They end up being about $1 a strip. So it makes it more useful. And so this is the Precision Extra Meter. It can be used for blood glucose monitoring as well as ketone measurement. It's 2 different strips though. So I only have the ketone strips. You would need a separate strip for the blood glucose. I'm gonna go first because this is my needle in there, and then I'm gonna change the needle so she can try it if she wants to. But since this one's already been used by me, I can use it again. Never share needles, never. I'm sure we're both totally clean and all, but it's just
never done that
with all kinds of stuff going around.
I don't know. Might have Zika.
Yeah, Zika virus. So it comes in this strip. It comes with instructions, but you actually have to, once you stick it in, it'll turn the machine on, and then you kind of got to be ready with your blood. So I just have it like sitting there ready to go, because first I got to prick myself, and I've done enough of the pricking to know that I get the best blood draw from like kind of the side of my finger, which can get really tender, which is another reason why I would only do it like once every 3 days, because you like have your good spot and then it hurts. So sometimes maybe because of the calluses and stuff from working out, I didn't get as good of a prick there. So I draw the needle. I'm going to go right there on the side. You can see it's already kind of starting to well up. I'll go ahead and insert that. And then I'm going to just let it kind of scoop the blood in there, and it'll beep when it's ready. So it counts down. 3, 2, 1. And I'm at 0.9, which actually is a lot better than I thought. We would consider me in ketosis if I was at 1.5. So if I eat really clean for the rest of the day and boost up my fats, like you can kind of kick yourself into ketosis faster by like
eating a spoonful of coconut oil or whatever, then I bet I'll be in there by tonight, and that will motivate me to stay in there for the rest of the week. And actually for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to travel in 2 weeks. So my goal is to be in ketosis until 2 weeks from now when I go home, and then I get to eat, you know, all the home cooked food and everything I want there. So this is a really good motivator. I have my food ready. Isabel's got some food ready. Share your thoughts while I look for one of these needles here.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of thoughts right now.
Thoughts?
I mean, I have questions, but I can't answer my own questions. So I guess you're saying you're gonna travel and you're gonna be in ketosis the whole time? Is that like no matter what you eat?
Yeah, so I could be in ketosis when I travel, but I know that when I'm making this trip, I'm going home and I'm gonna eat food that's not keto friendly. So my goal is to stay in ketosis up until that point, just so because
what gets you out of it?
So that's a good question. So you notice that the stuff that we're cooking, it's meat and it's green vegetables and it's fats. Okay, and that's basically what you can eat in ketosis, and the ratios that I showed you for our meals. So it really is a lot of vegetables. You're not eating vegetables. You're just only eating like green vegetables. Things that would kick you out would be things like red bell, like colorful vegetables. So that's why we're sticking to the greens, because they're not going to boost our blood sugar level. So tomatoes can kick you out, especially if they're cooked, like tomato sauces. This amount of tomato in here should be okay. For me, I know it is, because I've done some extensive testing and blood drawing. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Things like bell peppers, tomatoes, anything not green, basically.
Is there like health benefits to this? I mean, obviously.
Yes, totally. So it's not for everyone. I'll definitely say that. Some people do thrive on a little bit more carb-dense diet. If you're looking to lean out, this is a really great way to do it. It's kind of counterintuitive because you're eating a lot of fats. They use this, doctors use this to treat epilepsy in children when medications don't work at all. And it's also starting to be used as a cancer treatment because cancer eats sugar. It lives on sugar and it thrives and grows off of sugar. If you're not eating sugar and there's no carbs or that kind of fuel in your system, the cells literally die. So there's been a lot of success with having people going through chemo or who are diagnosed with cancer doing this type of diet and getting rid of their cancer. So I'm still looking for my little prickers. So let's go. Okay, so I was at 0.9. I did have some beer last night.
I mean, full disclosure, so did I.
So Isabel had beer last night, and she hasn't been in ketosis. Now, I found that once I'm in ketosis, I can get back into it in a day by just eating the way I know I need to eat. If she's never been in ketosis or haven't been on the low carb thing, it could take someone like that a week or even 2 weeks to get into ketosis. So we can just kind of see where she naturally is. Do you want me to prick you, or should you prick yourself?
Maybe you can do it.
All right,
If
so
you don't mind.
yeah, totally.
Okay.
So I'm gonna kind of just get this ready, and then I'm gonna cock it. Give me your finger. Anyone? And then go ahead and just squeeze it. The blood comes out, and we're just gonna collect it right in the very end there. It'll kind of suck it right up. There we go. Well, throw that towel to the
I'm gonna ruin your towel.
Oh, it won't ruin it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're at 0.2 without any effort. She's got 0.2 millimolars, which is a unit of measurement per liter of ketones in her blood. So that's what we're measuring. Millimolars per liter. Probably means nothing to most people, but we're looking for 1.5 to be in ketosis. I'm close. I'll be there tonight. If Isabel decides to give this a try, it might take her a couple weeks, but she should really see some benefits. So besides the ones we already talked about, more steady energy throughout the day is another major benefit. So people who have that kind of like mid-afternoon crash, it'll help kind of balance the hormone levels and get like, you're not on that insulin roller coaster anymore. So it can help balance all of those levels, blood glucose levels, insulin levels. So people who are like pre-diabetic, this is something we might prescribe to them so that they could not go on meds or get off of some meds that they were on for diabetes control as well. So yeah, tons of benefits. What other questions?
Good question. Where did you learn all this stuff?
Kind of just along the way and just experimenting on myself. So I wasn't joking when I said, like, I know that I'm okay with tomatoes because I've done a lot of tests on myself. Like, when I first started doing ketosis, I was measuring my blood every day. I was keeping a very detailed food log, and I would basically know. I could just tell by the way I feel and like feel like a firmness if I was in or not, and just knowing like, okay, I can eat that and get away with it. I know I can have a couple ounces of tequila, just neat, and still be in ketosis the next day because it's just distilled liquor and it's there's no mixer in with it. So yeah, you can kind of figure out what works for you. Some people are a little more sensitive, but I think I'm just a natural fat burner. Like my body wants to do that. It doesn't do well with carbs. So this was just a natural progression for me. And then just, the implementation is my specialty. So I'm always just trying new recipes and trying to make it work for whatever I'm doing, coming up with like kind of fun little treats and stuff like that. So.
Okay.
Cool. What else?
I mean, I don't know if you have any good references. Like, I don't have a lot of time to like think about what I'm going to make or what I'm going to put together, and I'm finding that to be kind of the hardest part.
Yeah.
This is putting it
So
all together.
I sent you guys all my cookbook pretty early on in the program. Yeah. Most of the recipes in there are low carb and keto friendly. Okay. So what I can do is, as part of the email this week, I'll just we'll do the table of contents of the cookbook, and I'll indicate which ones would fit into this lifestyle. If you guys watched the lesson from the last couple weeks, there's a lot more detail on what it means to be in ketosis, what are the foods you should eat, what are the foods you should avoid, what are the benefits. There's a lot of science behind it. You guys know Calvin's like the smartest person in the whole world, and he knows all this crazy science behind it, and he does a really good job of dumbing it down for the rest of us, basically, so that we can understand what's going on. So he did a really great job of explaining all of this in the last couple weeks' lessons, too. So feel free to refer back to that. Post questions in the Facebook group. You can email me directly if you're having implementation issues or if you don't quite get it. But in the email, I'm going to send you all the recipes. We'll send the macronutrient breakdown for each of the recipes and serving sizes, and then kind of like the end of the day's ratios so that you can see how all of this kept me in about 85% of the calories from fat, 10 to 15% from protein, and just a couple percentage from the carbs, because we kept those at less than 50 grams, even though we ate all those vegetables. So you still do eat vegetables, you eat a lot of healthy fats, and then just the protein portions aren't going to be as giant as maybe you would like sometimes. But I really find that the fat fills me up, and I like fat. I love to just walk around and eat an avocado or eat the coconut. So it fits with my lifestyle really well. It is something that you have to kind of think about and implement. So I'd say it's a more advanced technique. But if it's something you're interested in trying, we are definitely here to help you out with it. But you'll have some other options. In the next couple of weeks, we'll do a cooking demo for paleo and zone, and we're also going to do a vegetarian vegan demo. My nephew's going to be here in a couple of weeks. He's going to help me with one of the demos, so we can talk about cooking with kids as we're doing it. So it should be kind of fun. Anything else?
I did have one.
She has,
but I lost it.
She lost it. I'll let her think for a minute while I throw in
I
a
do.
trigger.
Yeah. So you hear a lot about how having a lot of fat and stuff, especially from meat, raises your cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed any differences?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question, and that's a myth. If you start looking now there's been a lot more research on fat doesn't make you fat, eating cholesterol doesn't give you high cholesterol, and that was one of the myths that that was propagated, in the last 10 years or so, and even up until the last year or two, cardiologists would say that, and they actually believed that they were passing on good information for that. And now, do you want to guess what makes your cholesterol go up typically? Eating what kind of food? Sugar, exactly. So sugar is the culprit for a lot of things, and it is also that's what will typically raise people's cholesterol. Now, if you have high cholesterol that runs in your genetics and your family, then that's a little bit different story, because you're already prone to that. You might watch your intake a little bit more, but typically it's going to be watching that sugar intake, and that's what's actually producing the cholesterol in there. And that's back in the sugar lesson. If you want to review on that, the lesson on sugar does talk about how it affects cholesterol. So it's really interesting. So that was an awesome question. Yeah. Because that's one of the, like, kind of the points that people will argue with you about it, right? Like, oh, how can you eat that much fat or that much cholesterol? You're going to have a heart attack. And no.
So you've experienced the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I actually, I donate blood, and they do all that cholesterol screening for you as part of the service. And so you get your heart rate and your pulse, and they just give you your cholesterol, good and bad. And over the course of the years, I just continued to see it go down. So when I first started doing CrossFit, of course, it went down, and then I started eating zone, and it went down a little more. And then I switched to paleo zone, and it went down even more. And just switching to this, like, it's even gone down a couple more points. And you'll see the good cholesterol go up. Yeah. So that's actually a really good question. That'll come up a lot when people are like, oh, how are you eating like that? How can you eat like that? That's going to make you sick.
I find it's better when you're working out versus not. Like, if you're still eating this way, regardless.
Yeah. So she asked, would I eat this way, basically whether I'm working out or not? Yes, I like this way for my lifestyle, for my body type, for my genetics. This is the way I know I should eat. And if not ketosis, at least low carb for me. I don't tolerate carbs very well. Some people do, and then this might not be the diet plan for them. You might want to have a little bit more balanced ratio, but I just know I feel great when I eat this way, and so I try to mostly eat this way. And on the weekends, I go out with friends, and I have a couple beers, or we go out for pizza and stuff. But that's, as you learned in the lesson the last couple of weeks, that's actually kind of necessary on this diet to have those carb refeeds like every 7 to 10 days. And that's when I'll allow myself to kind of cheat or whatever. But I don't get super hung up or strict on it. And that's kind of tricky with this diet, because you do have to count your macronutrients and really know and pay attention. I don't beat myself up about it. I look at it now, like, if I'm in ketosis, because you can still, like, where I'm at right now, that 0.9 is still technically fat burning stage. So I have a few enough carbs in my system that I am burning fat for fuel, but just not to the maximum I could be if I were in complete ketosis. So I'm happy with being in the fat burning zone. I look at it as a bonus if I'm in ketosis. I'm like, awesome, I'm in ketosis. I'm like really making the most of it. But I don't, I wouldn't recommend this diet for someone who is really anal about their food or has had any sort of eating disorder with like counting calories or exercise or anything like that, because it'd be really easy to get sucked into that and beat yourself up if you weren't hitting everything exactly the way you thought you should.
Do you notice any different in like your cognitive, like brain function?
Yeah, totally. I feel a lot less, cognitive function is better, a lot less cloudy headed, especially in the morning. And then that mid-afternoon, I don't get like the, oh, I'm so tired anymore. And I just like short-term memory is probably a little better, like just being able to like recall stuff pretty quick. Especially at the gym, you have to remember 600 people's names. Like, all right, Matt, Brian, Allison, yeah. Yeah, so cool.
What do you, so my last question.
Yeah.
What do you use to track all those macros that you track?
I have used MyFitnessPal, and I've actually added a bunch of these ketosis, like this M's Keto, M Good chocolate pudding. I'll tell you what it's called in there. Like, I have put a lot of these things in MyFitnessPal, so you can find them really easy. The one thing I like that you can add your own stuff, but what I don't like is that any Yahoo can add stuff, right? So you're just trusting that they put the right ratios in there. And there's been some things on there, and I'm like, no, that's totally wrong. So like people who've been showing me their food log have been going on this information, and they're not counting like 10 grams of sugar in this one item because someone didn't put it on there. So I like to put my own stuff in there, and the things that you use a lot, you can name it like Isabel's favorite salad, and then you just click on it and it's already all put together in there for you. So you just have to figure it out once. But I'll share with you all the ones that I put on there, and they're usually, I think they always say like M Good, whatever, because that's my cooking nickname, M Good. So yeah, those are all on there. I use that, and then I would track my ketone levels. Calvin made me a really awesome spreadsheet. And it has formulas. I'm not an Excel person. Like, I can put the numbers in, but he had all these formulas, and like it calculates your body fat percentage, and then it color codes it automatically. Like if I put in 0.9, it would have me in like the red. But then if it was like 1.5, it'd be green, because I'd be like ideal ketosis. So he has it's all crazy. Yeah.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. So if you're interested, we'd probably hook that up too.
Are you tracking per meal or just per day?
I was in the beginning. I was tracking every meal.
Yeah, but like, do you want every meal to be a certain ratio? Or do you
Just throughout the day. Yeah. So does every meal need to have the 85-15 ratio? No, but throughout the day it needs to accumulate at that. And so if you get too far off, it pretty much ends up being pretty close every meal with maybe like another extra fat meal, like snack here and there to kind of balance it out a little bit. I always like to say that vegetables are a great vessel for oil. So salad, like you can pull a huge salad and then olive oil and avocado, and you're basically just eating a fat bomb with like a little bit of roughage. So yeah. Cool. I think that's it. We're going to sign off, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks when we do the next cooking demo with my nephew.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.